Hello and welcome to the Aaron Warner podcast on iCode Media. I am joined today by Mikaela Bolding, and if you hear a little bit of hoarseness in both of our voices, it is because we are coming back from the Vision Source Exchange in Nashville, and where we had lots of awesome conversations, but I think at the cost of our voice. And Mikaela, you were telling me that you all went karaokeing in Nashville, which is incredibly brave.
We did. It was a blast.
Yeah. That's cool. I'd be afraid that Taylor Swift or Morgan Wallen or somebody would come in and just completely put us to shame.
Nope. No, luckily, none of that happened to us. So got to sing some old Shania Twain, and it was very fun.
Oh, there you go. You can never go wrong with Shania. So is that your go-to for karaoke?
Any Man of Mine's my go-to song.
It's a good song. Well, Mikaela, before we jump into why I invited you on here, for those who haven't had a chance to meet you or haven't heard you on here because it's been a minute, give us a brief intro as to who is Mikaela.
So I am Mikaela Bolding. I am at Maple Valley Eye Care with Dr. Bob Neal in Washington State. I've been here for almost 16 years, and then I'm also the Western Washington Vision Source Facilitator for the last 8 years as well.
Awesome. And what does a facilitator do for those who aren't used to the Vision Source culture?
Yeah, so Vision Source Facilitators, we are basically a resource in our regions to be able to provide leadership, and we host quarterly meetings, and we work as a family in each of our regions throughout the country to be able to make all of our practices better.
Okay. I like it because it makes a team, or it takes a team rather.
It does. Right.
And it's not just the doctors who run the clinic. In fact, it's not the doctors who run the clinic. And so having a strong team is helpful. Sometimes it's nice, I imagine, to have a safe spot to complain and get some of your stressors out when your doctors are being knuckleheads, but also just to share best practices and things and that you all have figured out in one office and share it with your other colleagues.
Exactly.
So, cool. And part of that leads us to where we're at today and why I was excited to bring you on, because I read an article in the Review of Optometric Business titled "Know Your Green, Yellow, and Red Patients to Boost Capture Rate." But before we jump into the article, which I'll link in the show notes, you were telling me how this article came to be to write it, and I thought that was a pretty neat story. Do you want to share that with us?
Yeah, sure. So within Vision Source, we have an email thread that any of us can ask questions, how people do things in different practices and whatnot, called our Boo Docs. It's Business of Optometry. And one of the doctors in, I think, the Midwest area, if I remember right, reached out and said, hey, we're really struggling with our capture rate. They're a newer practice. How can I help boost this? Who has any ideas? And so I replied with the steps of our process of what we've implemented over about the last year and a half that's helped raise our capture rate up to 60% in our practice.
Up to 60%. Where was it before you started?
About 46. And that was about 3 years ago. We've really been focusing on this for the last 3 years. And over the last year and a half, we've really solidified our process. And so that's what the last year is about, when we've really started to boost everything up.
Nice. So 46 to 60% gives me a reason to listen to you, because I think that's a fantastic jump. Kudos to you all. How are you calculating your capture rate? Is that complete pair? Is that lens capture rate? What's your formula?
Both. So we calculate for frames and then also lenses as well, lens capture rate. So we calculate both every month with our fabulous Business of Optometry KPI spreadsheet. And so, yeah, we have both metrics.
Okay. And I do too. And it's fun whenever we talk to doctors or offices, there's an argument as to how things should be calculated. We don't like failure, so I know some docs that if somebody buys something from them, that counts as a capture rate. I know some that manually will pull out their contact lens patients or their cataract patients or their post-refractive surgery patients to try to adjust the numbers, if you will. I think it's cheating, and I'm happy to debate anybody listening on here who does that. But I think that the numbers are what the numbers are. So the way we calculate in our office, and I'm curious if yours is similar, is we take the total number of refractive exams. Some call them comprehensive eye exams, some call them their annual wellness exam. But we use 92015 because we code that whenever we do a refractive exam. And we take the total number of 92015s and we look at the total number of pairs of lenses sold and do the math, and then we do the total number of frames sold, whether it's a plano sunglass or a prescription frame, and do the math there and get that number. You guys do the same?
That's exactly what we do. Yep, same thing.
Cool. Yep. I like the KISS method. Keep it super simple. Right? Try not to overthink it. The numbers are just what they are. They don't say if I'm a good person or a bad person, or if my intent is good or bad. They're what they are. I've also found that in most offices that I've looked at, mine included, that the frame capture rate sits at about 9 to 10% points less than what the lens pair capture rate is. For us, that seems to be where we're seeing, a handful more of patients' own frames. Do you see that?
Yeah, we're usually about 5% less for frames versus lenses.
Nice, even better. So even more reason for us to listen to your strategy and look to adopt it. So cool. So I wanted to lay the groundwork, because whenever we talk metrics and numbers, I think it's important to really understand the math behind it so that people can follow along. Out of curiosity, do you track complete pair capture rate at all?
We haven't, but now that you say that, I'm going to. We've always done frame and then lenses, but...
So I'm always curious. We don't, because I have the two. So I think a third metric just muddies the water.
It's too many.
Yeah, again, KISS, right? Keep it super simple.
Yeah.
Just get what I need. Cool. So this article talks about two systems and team alignment to, so walk us briefly through what those two systems are, and then we'll probably have some questions as to, the power behind them and the psychology and the genius behind it.
Yeah. So, number one, we realized two things in this process is patients weren't buying from us because, number one, they were either uneducated. They just really did not know what their benefits were and how great that they were. They just assumed because someone along the way told them to go to Costco, or maybe they had a previous insurance plan that didn't cover much at all. And so it was easier to go to Costco or online then, but maybe now they have a much better plan. So we really worked on finding a system that could help us easily educate patients and quickly, because we don't want to waste their time or seem like we're being salesy with them. And then the other side of it was that we did find, of course, even if they did have an insurance plan, or if they didn't, they simply couldn't afford it. So we also then knew we needed to implement a secondary package, which we call our gold package. And so all red patients qualify for that. So I'll get into that in just a second. And so with that, we realized we needed to be prepared before the patients walked through the door. And that's
Can you say
helped.
that one more? Can you say that one more time, please?
Sure.
Just
we
that last one.
realized we needed to be prepared before the patients walked through the door, not while they were coming out of the exam room.
I love this, and the reason I love this is in a lot of offices that I've worked with, and we're guilty of it in mine as well. I like to say that we love fun houses and Halloween in optometry, right?
Yes.
Because you grab the patient's chart, the tech comes in, says patient's ready. We grab the chart, we walk in, and it's like, boop, surprise, what's going to pop out behind door number one? You don't know what you're walking into. And I've got students, I think we were taught this in school, because I have students that rotate through, and a couple of them have told me, well, I don't want to cheat. So you don't want to cheat. You have 10 years worth of chart notes in front of you. It's telling you everything you need to know. Why on earth would you not review that before you walk in the room, so you know what you're going into? So I think that from a practice efficiency and practice management standpoint, being prepared is huge, and just knowing exactly what you're walking into and who's walking in your door, so you can adjust accordingly. So I thank you for saying that.
Yeah, absolutely. So to be prepared before they walk through that door, we have two systems that we do. We use Crystal Practice Management for our EMR system, and we have the ability to print the schedule to a PDF. And so we have one team member that is assigned every day. She does our color coding, which we call the daily power prep in our practice. And she goes through each patient on the schedule, and she will open up their file. She will see, have they purchased from us before if they're an established patient. And then they're assigned one of two colors. They're either red or they're green. And green means that they have bought from us within their last 2 visits. If they haven't come in for 5 years and now they're coming in again today, but they bought 5 years ago, they still qualify as green because last time they were here with us, they purchased. And so then we just know our focus with our green patients is to give them stellar customer service, which of course we do with everybody, but stellar customer service for them. We will always let them know, hey, you've got great insurance coverage and all of that. If there's something new that's come out since they were in last time, maybe they're not in a Verilux XR yet, or they're wearing an older version of Transitions or something like that, we will let them know during the pre-test process, hey, just so you know, when you go out to optical, when you're done with the doctor, there's a great new progressive lens that you'll be, refit into this year. So it just kind of plants the seed during that time frame that they know there's something coming when they come out of being done with the doctor from their exam. If they never purchase from us, or it's been over 2 visits since they have purchased from us, they are now red. So that means we got to work really hard to make sure they do get out to optical. And so the technicians do the exact same thing. They will let them know what's new since they've been in last. They will also ask them, where did you purchase your last pair of glasses? And if it's Costco is my always go-to. If it's Costco, then they're going to say, well, just so you know, with your insurance coverage, we have really great options here that if we can't do the top tier XR or something, we can offer you something that is going to be a better quality lens, and we'll still be able to bill your insurance for it. Make sure you talk to the opticians before you leave. And then our yellow patients are our new patients. So we've never seen them before. We don't know their buying habits. And so our main focus is making sure, again, they get great customer service. So they want to keep coming back to us. And then we hit those keynotes at each touch point throughout the patient's visit of making sure that they know once they're done with the doctor, they're not just going to get their script and walk out the door. They're going to visit with an optician first. And so with that, she will also, after she just determines what color they are, she'll take a look at their coverage. And so if it's VSP, for example, if they have a frame allowance over $150 or they are covered for anything outside of the norm, AR, Transitions, progressives, whatever on their plan, she will put great coverage. So that way, when we get that handoff from the doctor, we immediately know we can tell them, well, come on out to optical with me. We're going to take a look at some glasses. You've got really great coverage today, and we can go over all that with you. We also do have in Washington State, don't know if it's similar throughout the country. I haven't talked to anybody else about this yet, but we have some plans here from employers that are based in Seattle that offer 100% coverage on a pair of glasses for children. We also have some really high allowance plans with some of the tech companies out here that are like $1,000 in coverage for hardware, which is great. And so we will also, she'll make sure that is noted on our face sheet as well. So that way that can be touched on earlier in the process rather than at the end. And then the other thing that she also adds on the power prep is if it's a child that is a myope, she will put Stellest candidate on there because most patients that are still coming in haven't been fit in that yet since it just came out, towards the end of last year. And then the last thing she will note is for contact lenses, if they are in an older lens design, Air Optics, something like that, she will put contact lens upgrade opportunity. So that way the technician knows right away to mention to them there's been a new version of their lens that's come out and can grab samples for the doctor as well. So that's step 1.
Let's break apart step 1 because
yes.
This is fantastic. Now, so the first thing I noticed is that multiple times you said you referenced one person. And I think it's genius because when it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. Well,
we tried that at first. It didn't go well. We had the opticians doing the color coding, and then the front desk was making the insurance notes, and it was not good. So one person is key. One person's key.
Somebody told me once, when it's everybody's job, it's nobody's job. Hey, we all take the trash out when it's full. It means the trash cans are overflowing. And so, right, both at home and at work. Although at home, the trash is my job, so they're never overflowing. But I like that it's one person's role, and it's very clear as to what the role expectations are. and the language used in each of those.
Yeah.
Because I think that communicates very well across the board. I'm envisioning, as I was listening to you, a professional sports team watching film and getting ready, prepping for their next upcoming game. Because you're not going to change your vernacular. You're not going to, change everything week to week to week, other than who your opponent is. But you want to keep things as consistent as possible. So I think that was fantastic. How does this get communicated to everybody? Is it on a printed schedule? Is it on a? Because I'm imagining that doctors look at one type of schedule, the techs look at maybe a different type of schedule. How does it get communicated?
Like I said, she prints it to a PDF from Crystal, and then since that feature has like the highlight and type and all that, she'll put all of her notes on there and save it, and then she emails it to the team every morning. And we'll put key things in the email, saying like, we have 50% patients today are red patients. We got to work really hard to, get them out to optical. Today, for example, I would say probably 70% of our patients on our schedule today have great coverage. So she made sure to say that in there. So that way the whole team's aware. And then the techs print the schedule out as well for their doctors and put it on the desk. So that way they've got it kind of right in front of their face for the day. And then, so otherwise digital and then also printed.
Yep. So you have their playbook for the day. That's neat. And I imagine that this changes behavior too, because it's one of the worst things that I've pieces of advice I've heard. My dad taught me this, was that when we treat everybody like we want to be treated, the only person that's happy is us, because nobody wants what we want except for us. But I also think that we have sometimes slipped into I'm going to give everybody the same experience, but not everybody wants the same experience.
They don't. Nope.
And
that's what's hard too, is some of the patients that have great stellar coverage and they're covered for progressive and AR. We have an employer out here that literally covers everything except for the material that their lenses are made into. Sometimes they are so set in their habits and ways that they're like, I don't want to go talk about my benefits. I just want my prescription. And I'm like, but why? You have this great coverage. So we've also implemented that if we can't get them to physically sit down in optical with an optician, as they're checking out, the optician will say, I'm going to go get your prescription printed for you, because they make it, I'm the expert on that. I would make sure everything's on there that you need to go get that fit anywhere else. They'll print it out, and then we utilize the Vision Source Max program, which helps us with pricing on the lenses. With insurance coverage, it makes it very, very quick and easy to input it. And so they will print out a copy of the quote with their benefits, and then they will go have a quick 30-second conversation with the patient, and they will say, here's your prescription. It's got everything on here that you need. I've also included here a quote with your insurance. Before insurance, your lenses cost this much. After insurance, they're this much. And you also get this much towards a frame. And there's a little window there that sometimes patients will say, oh, I had no idea that my coverage was this good. And that's their segue to, well, come on out here with me and let's see if we can find a frame together that you like. And I could give you an exact cost on what they would be. And then we also have a handful of people that do leave, but they come back maybe with their spouse or whatever to shop after they kind of realize that they've got this coverage that's better than they thought it was.
Yep. That's a pretty neat thing to see when somebody starts understanding what their benefits are, because I'm convinced that tax code and understanding managed vision care material benefits are probably the two most confusing things in life. And nobody wants to say, I don't know, because then we just feel dumb, right? Mm-hmm. And we don't want to admit that. So it's easier to just say, never mind, I'm going to go away, because Costco's pretty straightforward. It costs X. And in our office, a lot of independent optometry practices, we talk about adult diapers, right? How much does this cost? Well, it depends. We got to do this crazy math calculator. So being able to give them something that's tangible, here's what it costs, here's what your benefits are, and then you give them time and that space to absorb it and process it. And I think that builds trust when they can see that, hey, this office clearly understands what's happening and they can make a better choice. Not always for us, but oftentimes it sounds like patients turn around and come back because they appreciate that you've taken the time to help them understand.
And I'm still amazed at how many patients think there's one type of progressive or there's not differences in quality of non-glare coatings and things like that. So, adding that little 10-second line when we hand that quote off as well, saying, you're going to get a better quality lens that you're going to see better out of if you purchase here with us. That's helped a lot as well for patients, at least having the conversation.
Nice. Do you guys script those lines? How do you manage that scripting?
Sorry. I have a script that I give to all of our team, and they're required to memorize it first. And each of them have made it their own a little bit, that they don't use the exact same verbiage, which is nice. It makes them not sound like a robot.
Yep.
But the biggest thing that I've found is if they're already wanting to walk with their prescription, they don't want to feel like they're being sold to. So we've just worked really hard to make it as short and simple as possible, so we're not super wordy. And then if they engage in conversation about it, then that's the key that I can start talking about the difference in quality and why they're going to get a better quality visual experience with our lenses versus elsewhere.
Nice. I like that a lot. Cool. So we've got, and this is all happens before the patient comes in, as we've talked through, right? So we've got the red, yellow, green, and I like how simple that is. And then of each of those, you've kind of separated it again, whether it's great coverage or whatever the case may be. And I like how you add in the contact lenses, because we don't operate in silos. We look at what the opportunities are. What happens after that?
So our technicians prep what we call our face sheets for the day. They do that usually the day before, because the schedule, as we say here, is always living and breathing, and it changes in a second. So they don't do it too far in advance because they waste their time. So they will prep face sheets, and what's nice is that Crystal PM will sync with Word, and so I have it all coded to where all they have to do is go into the last visit, and it sends all the information that we want, which is their demographics, the last time they were in, contact lens RX and spec RX on there. And then, so they will take that, and after the power prep is sent to them, they will put a star in the top left corner of the face sheet, depending on what color the patient is assigned. And any of those pertinent notes as far for insurance coverage or whatnot, they'll handwrite that on there. We also use Optify in our practice to pre-shop for frames prior to the appointment. If they did that, they'll note that on there for the opticians as well. So that way, as an optician, if I go to the room to take the handoff, everything is right in front of me before I walk down the hallway to optical, and I can start that conversation on the walk there. And then also on that face sheet are a bunch of boxes that the doctors can check. So they'll check what lens type the patient wears. They always check AR, so that way it's like they're prescribing it to me in front of the patient and in the handoff in the exam room. It also has any of the retail products that we carry that they want the patient to purchase before they leave, and then a return to clinic spot. So that way, that's our internal office communication, because there's 20 of us here every single day, and it would be so hard to play telephone throughout the office for what the patient needs when they leave. And so it just makes sure we don't miss anything. And then it's also a great thing to refer to if patients ever ask questions about why was I prescribed that, they can say, well, or fit in that you can say, the doctor prescribed it for you. It's right here on your handoff form.
Yeah, I like that. How are the doctors calling the opticians to the room?
We use old school pagers. I have tried to find different methods, because it's really hard to wear a pager sometimes with certain outfits and everything. And so, but there's nothing has been as effective. We've tried, we use Slack in our office for internal communication as well. We've tried that, but not everybody's sitting at a computer all the time. If we're up walking around, I can get a page anywhere in the office. So they use that, and everybody just takes turns. We usually have 4 opticians every day, and then we have someone that's available to take backup pages if all of them are busy. And they just take turns going to the exam rooms and taking that. And then we also have a pager that is for medical visits or contact lens follow-ups that are from an INR or something they're ready to buy an annual supply. So that goes to a separate person.
Nice. Yeah, figuring out the inter-office communication sometimes is the largest challenge.
Yes.
Yeah, we defaulted to walkie-talkies.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah, we all walk around like little Secret Service agents. I thought patients would be weirded out. I've never had somebody say anything. Yeah.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah. But with 20 people, that might get a little bit chatty. But figuring out your communication internally is huge. The Myopia Collective. CooperVision and the AOA have partnered in a groundbreaking initiative to change the way optometrists in the U.S. treat children with myopia. The purpose of the Myopia Collective is to rally the profession of optometry and its allies to interrupt the status quo and elevate the new standard of care for children with myopia. Every individual is encouraged to become a member of the collective. By joining, you commit to taking action to help slow the progression of myopia in children. You'll receive updates and information about the collective and its work in the fight against myopia, gain access to educational opportunities and resources offered by the collective, and hear from change agents, the ambassador optometrists selected to serve as advocates for community and policy change that facilitates the mission of the collective. Scan the QR code or click on the link in the show notes to join the collective today. In the past, our focus revolved around prescribing MacuHealth or MacuHealth Plus to patients at risk of macular degeneration, while also recommending it to collegiate and professional athletes for enhanced contrast sensitivity in sports performance. However, this year's introduction of the Life Meter has been a game changer. The Life Meter revealed a concerning truth. Many of my patients have alarmingly low skin carotenoid levels, indicating potential deficiencies in essential body tissues like the retina and brain. Supported by over 30 peer-reviewed publications, Life Meter's accuracy, consistency, and effectiveness has been demonstrated across 2,000 subjects with diverse backgrounds. With this newfound insight, I can now have meaningful conversations about carotenoid levels with all of my patients, even those who may seem outwardly healthy. To learn more about this empowering technology, feel free to contact your MacuHealth representative or click on the link in the show notes. Together, let's optimize patient care and elevate their well-being.
And the biggest hurdle for us too, well, I shouldn't say the biggest, but one of our big hurdles was making sure as well, even if the patient told doctor in the exam room, I just want a copy of my prescription, don't page the checkout pager, to have them totally avoid an optician and just take them to checkout to have it printed. If they're here for a comprehensive exam, they need an optical page. And so that switching that mindset as well really helped, because then opticians were actually able to have the conversation and there was no like, well, where'd this patient go? And oh, they checked out, they didn't want to shop today. And it helps bridge that gap.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up. Because we ended up doing the same thing. I took out all the printers in the office except for the one in the optical. And so only the opticians are able to print prescriptions.
Wow.
Well,
That's crazy.
I mean, the patient can be like, I want a copy of mine. I go, great. They're the only ones that can. And only our opticians are checkout. Now, others could, but they have to check out at that station. And so we made it that way. And honestly, opticians by nature tend to be the best salespeople. Mm-hmm. Technicians are great, but they're not salespeople, and they'd be miserable if they had to close the sale. My opticians would be miserable technicians because they talk too much, but they're really good at their job. And so having them be the full checkout, whether it's trying to sell them glasses, contacts, sell them on coming back for their next visit, whatever the case may be, they tend to have a higher capture rate across the board, and everything funnels to it. And the phrase that I've used in the exam is, I'll page it and let's say it's Mary who comes in. Mary's going to finish your exam and get you squared away. So I like that phrase of finish your exam, because it means that this is not a separate transaction.
That's great. I love that idea.
So cool. So this is so we've got the red, yellow, green system all the way through. What's the second system?
So part of that is with the face sheets. So the optician or the technician, working together there. And then the last part of it is I actually stole from your practice, is our win the day. I don't think it's it's a good thing. What I found is that our team needs to be aware of our goals and what they are every single day, not just what our big picture goals are. So, we were doing our once a month team meetings and we'd say, okay, goal for capture rate is to get it up 3% next month, 5%, whatever our goal was. And we'd meet the next month and I would be like, oh, well, it didn't budge, guys. Like, how are we need to focus on this every day. So getting something down to where every single day we know exactly how many pairs of glasses that we need to sell to hit 60% for capture rate. How many annual supplies do we need to sell? We also do retail products and we have a dollars goal. And so we have 4 things every day. And we're really big on team culture in our practice and making a really fun place to come to work. And so we have a calendar, and every single day there's a different person assigned to be the goal person of the day. They get to pick a theme for the day, so that way it's fun and not just like, today, sell 30 pairs of glasses today, sell 9 annual supplies. That's boring. So today's Cinco de Mayo, so it's a Taco Tuesday for our theme today. And nice. They write a really fun message. Most people use ChatGPT to make it like super fun and whatnot. And then they start the day off with how many do we have to sell for each category. And then they give a midday update where we're at. If we're really close, come to that last 2 hours of the day, they'll send as many inspirational messages to cheer people on and push them to the finish line as they can. And then the next morning, I usually send a recap message of what we ended up doing. But people are tracking it all day long, and they'll say, we hit it, we hit capture rate goal, or we hit dollars goal, or whatever.
Very cool. I like that. What were the 4 things that you guys, just for those who are going, what are they?
So we have an overall dollars goal, and that's billed out just to make it simple. We have a collections goal every month, but for the day, it's like how many altogether: services, contacts, glasses, retail products, dry eye stuff, whatever. So we have a dollars goal, and then we have the amount of glasses that we need to sell in a day to hit 60%. So I just count the amount of comprehensives on the schedule and times that by 0.6, so I know what that number is. And then annual supplies, how many we also need to sell to hit 60% of that. And then the last one is retail products. Ideally, we try to sell 6 to 8 a day. It just depends on how many doctors are working. And so they kind of roll with that to pick their theme and send out fun messages to inspire the team for the day.
Nice. And what I liked and I hope people heard is that you're not giving out a percentage goal, you're giving out a set units goal, because percentage is a really tough math that most of us don't do very well. But today is 9 pairs of glasses, not 60%. 9 pairs of glasses, or 5 annual supplies. So I like that.
We also have a whiteboard in our lab, and our lead optician is like this amazing artist. So she'll take whatever the theme is for the day, and it takes her 30 seconds, and she'll draw something really fun on the board.
That's cool.
And she'll write our goals for glasses. She breaks it down from there for the optical department of how many multiple pairs do we want to sell, transitions and things like that. And everybody will color something in on the thing that she draws, or at least put check marks when they sell a multiple pair, and she'll kind of update throughout the day where we're at too, so that way everybody can see it in front of their face.
Nice.
And make the team aware.
There was a reason in elementary school our teachers had that thermometer that we colored in as we were collecting a goal. Right? It's I don't think we've ever grown out of that. I think
no.
Right. The inner kid in us always wants to see that on a daily basis. And the cool thing about winning the day is that tomorrow's a new day. So even if we had a rough day today, we can come back and win tomorrow.
Exactly.
Yep. I like that a lot. How long did it take you from conception on these concepts to implementation to really start seeing a change in your capture rate numbers?
Oh, I would say probably within 6. We really had a good feel for it after a few months of at least identifying the red patients.
Okay.
We just implemented about probably 6 months ago what we call our gold package, which is a less expensive progressive and single vision option for patients, that for the red patients if they choose to not go with a premium product. Yep. That has also really helped too. We did a big training with our team, the technicians for those patients in the exam room. If they say, I bought my glasses at Costco, they can launch into, we do now offer a package that has helped patients see better because it's a better quality lens, but it's at a more affordable price, and the opticians can go over that with you. The package also includes a frame if you would like to choose from one of those selected frames. And so getting that seed planted from the beginning has helped a lot more with that. But when we first started color coding, the team was very receptive to it. So our capture rate actually boosted by about 7% just with color coding, because it was in front of their faces and it was almost a game for them of, I'm going to try to capture this person. And so that helped a lot in the beginning. And then over the last 6 months, really boosting back up with that secondary package. And my director of optical operations and I were, I'll be honest, terrified to implement this secondary package, because we've sold the best of the best for the last I'm here 16 years. She's been here for almost 20. And so it was a little scary at first. We were worried that it would affect our premium numbers, but it didn't. It just helped capture the amount of patients that we weren't capturing. And that made it feel better that nobody went backwards.
Nice. No, there's a lot of genius in what you just said. I want to pull some of that out, especially in the gold package. One, calling it a gold package, not a value,
yes,
or a discount.
I didn't want it to sound cheap.
Yeah, and we're not dumb. People aren't dumb. They can see through it,
yeah.
right? And even gold, they know what they're buying, but it feels better. I think there's lots of wisdom in saying, now we have it. Essentially, you're saying, we heard you.
Yes.
We're listening to our customers, because at the end of the day, patients are just consumers of healthcare. So we're listening to your feedback, and we're making changes based on that feedback, which says we care. It doesn't say we were bad before. It just says we care. And we're constantly adjusting and growing to help you. So, your phrase of now we offer embodies all of that, which I think is fantastic. And knowing that even though maybe it's a little bit less expensive, the lenses and the frame you're putting in there, it's still quality that you can trust, quality you can stand behind.
Yes, and that was one of
very
our biggest
important
too. I was tired of troubleshooting lenses that they didn't purchase from us, because they come back and say, well, Dr. Neal gave me the wrong prescription. Well, he didn't. You just maybe
Bob
aren't
would
in a
never do
lens
that.
He would never, no. And so that helped us a lot too, with less troubleshooting, less issues. And it also goes right back to what we talked about at the beginning of patient education. We had an optician out on maternity leave a couple months ago, so I got to sell glasses consistently for 3 months, which I hadn't done in a really long time, at least consistently. And one thing that I found is I would get handoffs for the gold package from the doctor, and when I took them out, they ended up being those people with great coverage, and I'm like, you qualify for no extra charge to actually be in a Verilux XR or whatever for the lens type that they were in. But bridging that gap to not let those patients walk out the door is what we just found is the most important thing.
Yep. And I think what you're describing there is starting the conversation. One of the biggest things in sales training, just in general sales training, is getting to know, because ultimately you want to get to a yes.
Right.
But if you don't get to once you get to a no, you have a starting place. When you get to a, well, let me think about it, and those really ambiguous answers, then you've got nowhere to build off of, because it's you don't know what you're working with. So I think that, hey, I'm going to start with a gold package, opens the door to the conversation where now they're engaged with you. So I think that's pretty genius of you all. And thanks for saying that it took a few months too to really get in your stride. I think sometimes we think we're going to do something, and maybe you see quick early success and then it falters, or you don't see any success out of the gate, or sometimes you see a dip and you feel like what you're doing is actually the wrong decision, because a few months can feel like a lifetime in our world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it has been quite the journey for sure. And the biggest thing, which my team knows that I do and our team leads all do, is accountability also. So if I saw an optician take a handoff and the patient said, I just want my prescription, and they said, okay, and took them to check out, it was an immediate conversation of, hey, that's not how we're doing things anymore. Remember, you have to print that prescription for them and give them the quote, or at least make the attempt to have them sit down. That's where we're most successful, if they can sit down there. And so just the continued accountability with the team was the other side of it that took time. Nobody likes change. Change is hard, but change is growth. And so it's just the constant reminder of, this is how we do things now, and we want to serve our patients the best that we can.
Yep. I think that's fantastic. And tied in with your, hey, here's the scripts, here's the language for you to use. Well, it might feel like Big Brother or dictatorial to say, hey, here's what you're going to say. I think it's very helpful, because that's a huge burden on somebody trying to figure out the right words to use. If you can take that away from me and give me the language, I now have something to work with.
It was definitely a journey there too, because I wanted to feel like, how can I support you best? Because I did hear them and I was like, it's not quite the way maybe to say it. So it helped a lot with scripts, so they could have something to start with. I'm also big on the watch me do it, I'll watch you do it method, and now you can do it by yourself. And so anybody that they at first felt fumbly, especially with our gold package patients, since that was the most recent thing that we implemented a few months ago, I said, I'm happy to go out with you and talk with the patient, and you can listen to my wording. And when they ask questions, because that's the other side of it, is because people don't fully understand that there are different quality and different lens types and different progressives, the questions would come. And so it was helpful for them, I think, to be able to hear me talking with them and not feel so put on the spot and like they have to wing it. Yep. And now I haven't had to do that in a long time. They're fine and moving on their own. So
I think that's really, really important. And the tools we have now are fantastic. So whenever we do something new in the office, I tell everyone they need to, at the next team meeting, we're going to hear everybody's no longer than 30-second pitch. Mm-hmm. And I remind them that you've got the website resources. I no longer write scripts for them because we've got AI.
Yeah.
So if you want, if you want to make it your own, just open your favorite AI tool and talk to it, and it'll record your spiel, and then just write, give me a concise, less than 30-second script that says exactly what we need to, that is positive, and then refine it. And then at our team meeting, I downloaded an app that I put everybody's names on it. It has a little wheel. Excuse me, I jokingly call it the wheel of death because everyone's going to slowly die when your name lands on it and it picks you. But that way we're picking on everybody equally, including the doctors, and to come up and give your speech and then get feedback from the group. What was good, what wasn't good. So it's a kind of a fun way to scare everybody into practicing and rehearsing, because if you are going to failing in front of your team, to get the positive feedback is a lot better than failing in front of a patient.
That's great. I love that.
Yeah, it's they hate it.
But we like it.
But it's once you accept it, it kind of like karaoke, right? There's those of us that absolutely love to stand up and sing, and I am not one of them. There's those of us who get a little bit of liquid courage in us, and we're okay then at that point making fools of ourselves because everybody else has.
Yeah, exactly. I told Dr. Neal, I said, I don't know, I might leave Nashville with a record deal for my karaoke, so don't be surprised if I don't come back. And he's like, okay.
I like that. How do you use this system for second pairs? Is that built into the process?
Yes. Thank you for bringing that up. So we always have a second pair discount of some sort. Right now it's half off a second pair. And so the technicians will also plant that seed throughout the process as well. And I should say that...
How do they plant that seed? What's the verbiage that they use for that?
On our face sheets, there are 3 questions that they're required to ask in their pretest process. Mm-hmm. And one is, how much screen time do you do a day? Do you wear sunglasses when you're in the sun? And do you have a backup pair of glasses? And I know. And so they will then take each of those and be able to tie that back to a second pair. So if they are on screens all day long, if they're a progressive wearer, they can say, we have a great computer lens that you could get, as a second pair to your normal progressive lenses. It'll open up your mid-range more for your screen time work. If they don't wear sunglasses, then they will say, oh, well, our opticians can definitely go over. We have a great second pair discounts. They can go over an option for a prescription sunglass for you. And if they don't have a backup pair of glasses, they really explain the importance of why you should have a backup pair, especially if they're a higher prescription. And they scare them and they say, well, what would you do if your glasses broke? And yes, we offer a 2-year warranty on your frame and lenses, but we have to order that. And that takes 2 weeks to come in. So what would you do in the meantime if you don't have a second pair? How are you going to drive to work? And that is one of the good ones that really keys people in to a second pair of glasses. And so they mention that there. And then we also have signage that says 50% off out in the optical as well. But the opticians are also required in each sale to mention it somewhere. So whether that happens on the walk from the exam room to the floor or while they're sitting with the patient, they'll say, and by the way, we do have a great second pair discount today if you want to get another pair of glasses or sunglasses, and go from there.
I like that. That's huge. I like to tell patients that glasses are like shoes. One pair really doesn't do the job across the board, and so we know you need more, but you only want to buy one. Mm-hmm. So we give you half off on the second. when you say 50% off, is that on a complete pair? Is that on if they just got lenses on the first one and they want to update their lenses in their old pair? Do you give them a discount on that?
Complete pair, 50% off. If it is lenses only on one of the pairs, or if it's 2 sets of lenses only, then they get 20% off.
20%? Okay. Very cool.
And that's one thing too with patient education is we say sometimes it's barely anything more expensive unless they're choosing something super high end or something, but it's barely more expensive to just get a full second pair, and then you'll have a full 2-year warranty that starts now instead of just a warranty on your lenses.
Well, there you go. I like that. I'll have to go back and relook because we do 50% off on second pair no matter what it is, just to keep it easy. Now, if you bought lenses only on your first pair, you're not going to get 50% off frame and lens. The second pair, you're going to get 50% off of equivalent what you bought.
Yes.
But I didn't think about tiering it to try to drive for a full sale on lenses. What time frame do you put on that?
We really try to say it's same day when they're here. And if they don't complete a second pair sale, we do say, you know what, we'll extend this for you for 30 days if you change your mind. You can always come back in within the next month and get that second pair at half off. And I'm sure there's an automated way to do this, but right now we're doing it the harder old-fashioned way. And we have a team member that is responsible for she'll run a sales report, and anybody that just bought one pair of glasses, she has a text that she just copies and pastes through Weave and sends it out to them that says, just a reminder, you qualify for half off for 30 days. And she sends those out once a week.
Okay. Yeah, it's, automation has its place, but not in everything.
Not in everything, yeah.
Not in everything.
Sounds a little more personal when it's sent out just to them and not sounding like it's sent to mass amount of people.
Oh, for sure. And the having a expiration date drives a little bit of urgency on that. Oh, I like that. You said right now your deal is 50%. Do you rotate your offers for second pair, or does it kind of always sit at that 50%?
Had been. We used to do free frame, and then they would pay for the lenses. If the lenses were out of pocket, we sometimes would give them 20% off. It just kind of depended of it, But free frame is what we used to do because free is a trigger word in patients' minds, and so that was good. Then the ultimate lens package came out. That was a million years ago. So then it was obviously like free lenses on a second pair if they qualified on their first one. And then we've done a couple different percentages throughout the years, 30%, 40%. We've had the best capture with 50. And it's also really simple. There's like not a whole lot of math that has to be done for it. So it's been pretty successful. But I took a class once by Dr. Lori Sorensen, and she said, I found that it doesn't matter what my second pair discount is, as long as my opticians and team are excited about it. That's all that matters, which I think also plays a big part of it as well.
I agree with Lori in that statement 100%. In fact, I think the offices that rotate deals are not rotating the deals for the patients. It's rotating it for the staff. So it doesn't feel boring. And the math really works itself out. If you look at free frame lenses, or 50%, it's all pretty darn close together. So I like that. And by the way, for those who like math and spreadsheets, the profitability on that second pair for the practice at 50% is typically more than what the first pair is through the managed vision care.
Yes.
So I've had to walk some of my staff through it because they feel like I'm giving away the farm when I'm trying to tell them that, hey, you were really excited about that VSP sale that you had, but we actually made more money giving half off on the second pair than you made on the first one.
Yeah. And what's nice too is that, especially with managed care patients kind of they feel a lot of times depending on the prices of the frames that they choose, of course, but when they look side by side, they're like, oh, so they're basically both the same price because managed vision care is usually about half or whatever. And so patients are usually fine with it. The worst thing they'll say is no. So we just make sure it's offered in every sale.
Yep. And if you're always only trying to help the patient with what they need, you can never be wrong by offering and asking.
What I tell my team too is they're coming in to see us and they're telling us what's wrong. They're saying, my eyes are tired from being on the screen all day. They're saying they're light sensitive, or they can't see. Maybe it's their first pair, whatever. So we're never selling them something they don't need.
Yep.
And even if they go out and fall in love with a Gucci frame that was 3 times as much as maybe the other frame they were deciding between, if they fall in love with it, then they probably feel like they need it because it makes them feel good too. So that we're never giving them something that's not going to benefit them in some way, shape, or form.
100%. And I think we forget that sometimes, right? That we all have assigned different values to things. And,
Yep.
Somebody may assign it to certain articles of clothing. I particularly don't care unless it's my shoes, in which case we're spending a whole lot more money. And somebody may not appreciate the value in what I spend on those. So we can assign value, but we also can't, know what patients are appreciating on their, for themselves. So, and the phrase we use in the office, one of our core values is recommendations you can trust. So I'm never going to put somebody in a product that they don't need. Mm-hmm. They can certainly want it, and I can talk about it, but I'm never going to recommend that they have to get something above it, something else, which sometimes means you're recommending the higher end product because, they've had trouble with previous lens designs before. So putting them in an XR track maybe is the right answer for them. Somebody who's done just fine with prior product, maybe that's too much, and it's not something that we need to recommend, although we can certainly tell them about, and they can choose to go in certain directions.
I had a conversation last week with a doctor, and he's struggling with Stellest in his practice of just prescribing it to kids, and that barrier there because worried about cost, and
Yep.
It's not the same with all the insurances. And I said, but would you not prescribe your glaucoma patient medication for their glaucoma? He's like, no. I'm like, it's the same thing in a way, like it's becoming a standard of care. And so
Yep.
anything we do in our practice is a standard of care, and just making sure the patient's leaving with the best option for their visual solution for themselves.
Yep. And that's a great point I think we should kind of wrap up with, is that if money wasn't an issue, that's what I tell my team, if money wasn't the issue, what would you prescribe them? Mm-hmm. Right? If this was your mom, this is your family, what would you get for them? And typically it's not the top of the line most expensive thing in the office. It's something that they're going to feel good about. And they can articulate why. So, well, that's what we need to give our patients. How it's going to get paid for is a secondary conversation. Because we can, yeah. But we can address that. We've got 3 easy payments that we can work through. We can talk about whether there's third-party payer, like managed vision care benefits involved, care credit if patients have that. We tend not to jump to it first because of cost for us, but there's lots of different ways to get to where we need to go. All the way down to, there's times when we think somebody needs it and they truly can't afford it, and we'll cover the cost. So that's, not a common thing because I'm very much not a nonprofit. Right?
Yeah.
But it's, there's 2 different conversations, I guess, is what I'm getting at. And so if we do right on the first one, I've found the second one, for the most part, tends to work itself out. And we have a much more honest and open conversation.
And I always tell my team too, you can't ever judge anybody's pocketbook. You don't know what they can or can't afford. And sometimes, we're all judgmental creatures, unfortunately, even though we try not to be. And so sometimes we might assume someone can't afford something and it's easy enough for them to, or maybe it's not in their budget, but because we're telling them how much it's going to benefit them, then they'll make it work. So.
Yeah, you can assign value. Have you seen Disney adults? I mean, the amount of money those individuals spend, people can find a way to pay for what they want. So awesome. Well, Mikaela, I really appreciate you making time to join me, and I really appreciate you taking the time to put your thoughts in this system in print and share it with all of us, because the only way we consistently get better is by working together as a community, as a team, and sharing ideas like we just did at the Exchange in Nashville, and certainly with people like you sharing your insights and articles like this. So thank you.
Thanks for having me.